Namaste and greetings to everybody. Let us talk about the motherhood of God through the example of Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi. Much has been written that Sri Ramakrishna brought the nascent qualities of Sri Sarada Devi outside manifest because he wanted to establish the motherhood of God. The kind of training he was giving to young Sarada was so that she would manifest the motherhood of God. We all know Sri Ramakrishna worshipped Mother Kali, and the concept of the motherhood of God is a very important part of our traditions because we have the quality of the childlike devotion, the devotion of the child. So we have the idea of motherhood. Right at the beginning, when Sri Sarada Devi came to Dakshineshwar to be with Sri Ramakrishna, because she had heard many rumors in her village, she found, she stayed with Sri Ramakrishna in the Dakshineshwar temple room. And she found that she wanted to know the attitude of the master towards her. So she asked the master one day, "How do you look at me? What do you consider me?" The master's answer is very powerful to show us how he is bringing out the motherhood of God in her, in this young Sarada. He says, at that time, Sarada Devi was pressing his legs, massaging his legs. He said, the mother in the temple, that is Mother Kali, the mother in the Nahabad, upstairs of the Nahabad, his own biological mother was staying, Chandramani Devi. She was staying at that time there. And the mother who is massaging my legs are the one and the same mother. So Mother Kali, who is my goddess, Mother Chandramani, who is my biological mother, and you who are now pressing my legs, massaging my legs, all of you are the same mother. This is what Sri Ramakrishna told her right in their first meeting when she was older, because she was a child earlier. For the first time now, they are meeting after she's grown up. And this concept of motherhood was filled in her mind. She remained the mother throughout her life. Today also we worship her as the mother. We love her as our own mother. Sri Ramakrishna also did another wonderful thing to bring out the motherhood of God in Sri Sarada Devi. I'm sure you have heard, and I might have mentioned, the Shorashi Puja. This is, the Shorashi Puja, and this is Falaharini Kali Puja. Somewhere it comes in the summer months, not the Kali Puja of the time of Diwali, but this is, somewhere in the summer months. So during that time, Sarada Devi was in Dakshineshwar. She had come to Dakshineshwar from her native village, Jairambati. So Sri Ramakrishna told his nephew, Retd, to arrange the worship in his own room. The mother's worship was going on in the main temple of Dakshineshwar Kali shrine. Retd would do that worship. He wanted to do, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to do the worship in his room. And Who was the mother here? The Shorashi, and this was Sarada Devi. She sent word to her that at such and such a time, please have a bath, wear your clothes and come here. Using all the traditional methods of worship, all the rituals and mantras, Sri Ramakrishna worshipped this young girl, making her realize the divinity within herself, making her realize. The mother herself speaks about this incident in her life. And she says, I was in a totally different state of consciousness. I cannot tell you in what state I had reached. You know, the levels of our consciousness take us higher and higher towards divinity, a super conscious state. This is what was happening. Both of them were, in a state where the worshipper and worshipped were on a high spiritual plane. And from this day onwards, the mother felt that some divine spark has been, enlightened, kindled in her. Of course, this does not make her act very proud or, very egoistic. She remained a simple woman. Her simplicity was the most beautiful quality of the mother. Because when we think of our own mother, don't we always think of her as somebody who's very simple? So this simplicity characterized our divine mother, our holy mother, Sarada Devi. Now, many examples are there when Sri Ramakrishna might have been testing her. He might have been trying to find out whether she had really become the mother he wanted, whether his concept of the motherhood of God was really coming through in the character of Sarada Devi. There was a time when one lady came and asked the mother, every day the mother would cook in her room, carry the food in a plate, and go to the master's room to feed him. You can imagine the topography of the temple complex at Dakshineshwar. So the mother and Sri Ramakrishna's rooms were not, attached to each other. They were slightly distant. Mother would walk that distance, carry the food, and go to him. One devotee lady came. She said, Mother, today can I carry the master's food? The mother said, okay, please carry. So this lady took the food and she went and placed it in front of the master. He sat down to eat, but he couldn't eat because he was so sensitive that he couldn't eat what others had touched. So he told Sarada Devi, when they were alone, that lady had gone away, the devotee, he said, please do not give my food in the hands of anybody and everybody. Please remember that I cannot eat if you give it to everybody. The mother said, please, today you eat. She was not rude. She was not aggressive. She said, please eat today. Then the master said, promise that you will never do it again. She was very obedient. She was always listening to every word, uttered or silent communication of Sri Ramakrishna. But today she said, no, master, no, Thakur, I cannot promise you such a thing. I cannot promise not to give your plate to anybody. If they call me as mother and ask me for something, how can I not give? If they call me as mother and they request me, then I have to fulfill their request because I am their mother. Sri Ramakrishna felt very happy in his mind that yes, this little girl is now growing up to be the mother of the universe. She's becoming the mother of everybody. And this we find till the end of her life. And today, when she is not in her bodily form anymore, she continues to be the supporting mother for everybody. A similar incident happened again with the young disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. These young boys would often come and stay with the master in the night because they wanted to do meditation. They could not do it at home. So they would spend the night in Dakshineshwar temple, in the master's room very often, or in the Panchavati, which was a good place for meditation. Before meditating, they would obviously have their dinner. The mother would prepare dinner for them and she would serve it to them. The master noticed that the mother was giving them extra chapatis. You know, if the master said give 2, she was giving them 3, 4, 5, whatever they wanted. So the master was upset. They said, if you have a full stomach, you cannot do meditation. They should eat only half their stomach. Why are you giving them more than when I told you to give them less? The mother showed her divinity. The mother showed her motherhood by saying, you do not worry, master, about their spiritual benefit, about their meditation. I will take care of them. I will take care of their spiritual benefit. Promise. This is what the mother is doing. She's making a promise to look after these young boys and the entire humanity in this one example where Sri Ramakrishna is testing her by saying, why are you giving so much? He says, don't worry. These are my children. I will look after their welfare. Physical welfare, feeding them. Spiritual welfare, giving them the right meditation. So the master was very happy in his mind. He says, okay, these boys now belong to her. She is the mother of these young boys who are going to renounce the world and become sadhus. She was there for everybody. That is why when Sri Sarada Devi's mother, that is Shama Sundari Devi, felt very sad. He says, oh, I got my daughter married to a renunciate, to a person who has renounced the world. Now she will never know the happiness of being called a mother. You know, in Bengali, Ma dak shunte parbe na. She will never know the happiness of being called a mother. The children calling Ma, Ma. Sri Ramakrishna heard this. He said, don't worry. Your daughter will be called mother by millions of people. And she will be tired of hearing the call mother. So don't worry. Now today, we all call her mother. We all call her Ma. We all call her Holy Mother. So everybody all over is talking to her, you know, is calling her mother. And therefore, she has no dearth of children. There was a time when young Sharda, she was very young, very innocent. She said, oh, will we not have any children? Sri Ramakrishna explained by saying that, you know, you'd have children today, tomorrow they died because his nephew Akshay had died in front of his eyes, very, very sorrowful. He says, oh, all of them died. She asked, this little Sharda, innocent Sharda. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, do not worry. I have given you real gems, real treasures, the most precious jewelry as your sons. These were the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, the monks of the Ramakrishna order, the first people who established this, Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciples. These were all the children of Sarada Devi. They were the spiritual children of the master and the mother. So she never had any problem because these children, although they were world famous, they were great spiritual people, but still in front of her, they were like small children. They were like her real children. Then, of course, Sister Nivedita and all the Western disciples came. She called Nivedita Cookie. Cookie means baby, little one. In Indian households, we call the daughter as baby. So here was the daughter, the wonderful children whom he says that Vivekananda's, Naren has brought this beautiful flower from the West. So she used to treat them like that. Her disciples, the thousands of people whom she initiated, all became her children. People who met her, who might not have taken initiation from her, are all her children. And she would show her motherhood, the motherhood which we find in her at all times manifest in this. Now, she says that I am your real mother. In one place, who are you? The disciple asks. She says, I'm not your mother in name only. I'm not your mother only for a moment. I'm your real mother. This assurance she gives, the empathy she feels for good and evil. She says, don't be scared. If you have committed a mistake, what is the mother's role? The mother forgives. The mother takes the child in the lap, even if the child has made some mistake. The mother forgives. So this kind of a treatment we find with her. Now, she used to say that serving my children gives me the greatest joy. She would cut the vegetables, she would cook it, she would serve it to them while they are eating. She would take a fan. In those days, the fan was like this. It was just a leaf with a stem. She would put the fan so that the people who were eating would eat nicely, peacefully, not feel sweaty or hot. You can see the motherhood in her. God has come as mother, and she's taking care of everybody as a mother. There was a divine spark in her when people came to pay their respects on her birthday. They said, Mother, today you have to eat first, then only we will eat. She could eat only one morsel. She said, oh, I cannot eat. My children are starving. Can you expect me to eat? So she ate one morsel. They said, okay, let us have this prasad. When they ate nicely, they ate their fill. The mother could sit down and eat it. So the divinity which you have in her, the way in which she manifested this divinity by being a mother to everybody, this is what we find in her. Then we, of course, have many other examples also. We have the mother on a pilgrimage. She sees in the pilgrim center that the monks there are living in a wonderful building. They do not have to go from place to place and beg. Usually the mendicants in our country were always roaming around and begging food and eating. But the mother saw, here is a wonderful akhada, a wonderful organization where the monks are doing spiritual worship, but they are also staying together, and all their basic necessities are met. she started praying. See, the mother heart, she says, Master, my children are roaming about from place to place. All the disciples were now scattered. They didn't have a place. They took one building, Boranagar, Alam Bazar, these were the original mutt buildings. They said it was haunted. That is why they got it for a less price, less rent. They had no money, they had no food. They had only one piece of cloth where all of them would wear it when they are going out, and when they would come in, they would have no clothes to wear at home at all. This is the kind of suffering, the kind of life they led. The mother could not bear this, said, Master, please bless them with a place to stay, enough food to eat, the basic necessities of life to be met, so that they can devote their lives to spirituality and to benefiting humanity, not roaming around and not begging all the time, not suffering so much hardship. That her prayer was divine prayer. She was a person who had that ability, that divine strength within her, the power and the energy. So we have the Ramakrishna Mutt, we have the Sarada Mutt. Those who want to devote their life to spirituality, young boys and girls, they join there. Even today, highly qualified people join there. They live a life of renunciation. They benefit themselves spiritually, they benefit the whole world spiritually, and they also do social work, social service. If there is a flood, if there's a famine, if there is a natural calamity, a cyclone, we find that Ramakrishna Mutt, Sarada Mutt are the people who are in the forefront. They are the ones who are helping. So how did this come through? Because of the motherhood, because of the quality of, the divine prayer of the mother, which says, I must take care of my children. I must protect and look after my children. So she prayed for a shelter for the monks. Today, all over the world, we have centers. Outside India, we have the Vedanta centers. And in India, we have the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission centers. We have Sarada Mutt and Mission Sarada, Ramakrishna Sarada Mission centers. We have schools, we have hospitals, we have various activities going on in the name of Sri Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi. All this goes back to that prayer which she made. Anybody who requires solace, anybody who requires support can find the support in this organization, which came through because the mother was praying. We also find that the mother has everybody's benefit in her mind always. During special occasions, during pujas and during her birthday, hundreds of people would come bringing flowers to put at her feet to worship her. She would sit quietly as though she's a clay image. She's a living person, but she would sit silently till everybody finished. When everybody had finished, she would call one of her disciples and say, please offer some pranam, some flower on behalf of those children who could not come. So she was remembering all those people who could not come today because only a few people came. Either she was in Kolkata or she was in Jairambati or Kamarpukur, but very rarely in Kamarpukur, of course, mainly Jairambati and Kolkata. But she was not forgetting others. She was not saying those who came, that is enough. I bless them. She wants to give her blessings to everybody. She says, please remember all those who did not come. If you don't remember their names, no problem. Just say those who could not come, their pranams to the mother. So you can see the motherhood of God, the divine. We also have a wonderful example of the mother at the end of her life. The mother was very ill at this time. She could hardly, get up. There was pain everywhere. But still, people would find that from 3 o'clock in the morning, she would sit and do japa. She would repeat the mantra. And they would say, the mother we believe is goddess. The mother is divine. We believe that she is all powerful. Then why is she doing so much practice? Why is she doing so much mantra japa? She need not do. Then they said, Mother, you're not well. Why don't you sleep and take rest? Why do you exert yourself in these spiritual exercises? The mother said, my children, I'm not doing it for personal benefit. I have given initiation to many people. Many millions have never come to me. They will not see me at all because I will not be there. For all their welfare, for those who are forgetting to do their own spiritual exercise, although they took initiation from me, for all of them, I'm doing japa. I'm not doing it for me. Now, who will say such a thing? Unless it is the divine Shakti, it is the mother, the God in the form of the mother. This motherhood of God concept is in our country very powerful. We have this great treasure that we don't only think of God as the father, we think of God as the mother. The mother is something very dear to all of us. The mother is very helpful in whatever difficulties of life which we have. The mother gives us the first lap, the lying in the lap of the mother is a great luxury. You don't need a cradle. The mother's lap is there. The mother nurtures us. The mother trains us. The mother gives good values. If we really have good mothers in society, that society will not have crime or anything because every child will be properly brought up by the mother. Today, if society is corrupt and evil, it is because the mothers could not do what they had to do. Sri Sarada Devi shows us the love and affection, the sacrifice, all the time giving support to children, what a real mother has to do. And she's also the divine Shakti. So we find that Sri Ramakrishna manifested the motherhood of God, God as divine. And this became a glorious example all over the world. Today, you find many books which are coming not by Indian authors from different parts of the world who are talking about Holy Mother Sarada Devi. When Sister Nivedita went to a church in US, she said, when I saw Mother Mary in the church, I remembered your face. Your face looks exactly like the face of Mother Mary, the divinity of Mother Sarada Devi, the motherhood of Mother Sarada Devi. All these are powerful learning experiences. It gives us such a feeling of joy when we think of the mother always with us. Whenever you have difficulty, you call me, she says. So any little difficulty, we look at the mother. We say, Mother, please help. And you will find that help really comes. Only we have to call sincerely. The mother is always with us. We have to believe and we have to remember. We forget all this. We get very upset whenever we have a problem. Keeping the mind absolutely balanced, calling on the mother, seeing the powerful, miraculous presence of Sri Sarada Devi. Namaste and thank you.